Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to this webinar on behalf of the TEFL org. My name is Carl. I am a teacher trainer here at the TEFL org. I do the practical courses here in Northern Ireland. I'm one of a gang of teacher trainers that work for the TEFL org, helping people to become TEFL teachers. I have been lucky enough to have taught in many places around the world. I've taught in China, in Japan, in Vietnam, Kazakhstan. I've taught in Azerbaijan. I taught in Iraq for a bit. I've also worked in Spain and Italy. And the topic of today's webinar is TEFL in Spain. So if that's what you're in for, then you're at the right place. If you want to become a TEFL teacher and work in Spain, or maybe you're already a TEFL teacher and thinking of going to Spain, then this hopefully will be the webinar for you. I'm here in Northern Ireland, just outside Belfast. Please let me know where you are in the world. It's always good to hear that everyone, the location of everyone. I'm going to answer any live questions you might have. If you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, it comes up on my screen. After I've done the presentation, I will answer the question. If not, Alan, who is running the back end of all this kind of technology, will be able to put a link in or answer your question first. Hello, everyone. I can see JP saying hello. Joan was saying hello. Joan is here. Not Joan, but that's just the username. Joan. Raminda is here. Hi. Martha's in Greece. Rick's in Arizona. Raminda's in London. Monica's in Nigeria. Lauren's in Canada. Hi, everybody. Right. Okay. Let's get going with a little presentation. Please do get any questions you have. If you also agree or disagree with me, please also put that in the chat because it's quite good. Right. So first of all, why teach in Spain? Why? There's loads of places around the world that you can TEFL. Why do it in Spain? Firstly, you know, beyond all of the beautiful weather, the lovely beaches, the great cities, and the beautiful culture, talking about like sort of the TEFL side of things, there's a big market for TEFL in Spain. Lots of jobs. There's lots of people wanting to learn English. There's parts of Spain where you need to have an English qualification in order to pass your degree, no matter what degree you're doing. There's parts of Spain where you need to have an English qualification to get your job contract renewed if you work for the government. There's also just lots of people that want to leave Spain and go work abroad, like there are in many countries. There's also big markets for tourism, so people want to learn English for that. So there's lots of people wanting to learn English as a foreign language. Therefore, there's lots of jobs, and there's lots of variety of jobs. I'm going to talk about the different ones in a minute. But basically, if you want to be a TEFL teacher, you can pretty much work anywhere in Spain as a TEFL teacher. There's a big variety of locations. Spain is massive, you know, geographically in size, it's absolutely huge. And there's a big difference culturally between the north and the south, between the east coast, and they're sort of in the middle. You know, so Madrid, you know, big cities such as Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, cities like that. There's also quite rural locations that you can teach in Spain. It's quite common to teach in sort of small little towns. Generally, I put that in brackets because, you know, you don't always get them, but generally it's quite motivated students in Spain, especially once they sort of get to the adult age. Kids sort of less so. They're sort of forced into learning English, but for the adults, a lot of them are quite motivated because they want to learn English in order to get a better job, to start a university degree, to get promoted, something like that. So English really helps them that, and if they can show that with a qualification, it's pretty good. Right, a degree is not generally needed in Spain. Now, what do I mean by the generally not needed? To go and work in Spain, you don't need to have a degree. And there's lots of language schools, private language schools, that they will advertise jobs where you don't need a degree. Saying that, there are special programs for people that are outside the EU to go and work in Spain, and they do need a degree. So if you're coming from outside the European Union into Spain, you will need a degree generally to work there. If you're already within the EU or you've got an EU passport yourself, you don't actually need a degree to go work there, which is quite a bit of a benefit. There's no upper age limit. So again, if you've got an EU passport, you can get yourself into Spain. There's no sort of upper Asia where you can't get a visa for it or anything like that, like there is in sort of East Asia in particular. So if you are sort of a retirement age, you kind of want to work a bit of part-time, something like that, or if you want to work full-time, is a good country for that. It's also possible for non-native English speakers. I have worked in places in Spain where the teachers and even the school owners haven't been native English speakers. You can definitely find a bit of work in Spain if English isn't your first language. Please do get any questions in. Martha, I can see your question already. I'm definitely going to get round to it as soon as I finish this. David, hi. NM, hello. JP, hello. Everybody's saying hello. It's great to have you all on board. Right. Where should you teach? So, you know, if you're thinking about going to Spain, what's the best city to go and teach in? And I'm going to cop out a bit here by saying it really does depend on you. For me personally, I don't like teaching in really, really big cities. It's not really my sort of thing. So, you know, going to teach in Barcelona for me might not be exactly what I want to do. For you, it might be. I would much rather personally prefer to be in a biggish town instead of a big, massive city. Or I would prefer to be by the sea. So it really does depend on you, and wherever you want to go in Spain, there will be a teaching job and a language school in the town that you're in. Okay, I've examined in some very, very small towns of like a couple of thousand people, and they have a language school in Spain. Spain is really, really big. You know, from the north, the climate is quite different from the center, different from the south. You know, and the cities range, and they're very different culturally as well. So, you know, have a little look about Spain generally as a culture. Where do you fancy? What do you fancy would be good? Now, these are probably the main destinations for teaching in Spain: Madrid, Granada, Zaragoza, Seville, Barcelona, Malaga, and Mallorca. Mallorca is an island; it's not even on the mainland. Spain has quite a few islands. There's jobs on that as well. Now, these are the main ones. However, there's others. Salamanca, for example, beautiful city. Valencia is also another beautiful town, beautiful city where you might find jobs. These are the main ones where you might want to look at, but don't sort of limit yourself just to those. Almost every town has a language school. Wherever you go, you'll see generally a Union Jack or some sort of picture of some sort of tourist element from the UK on the side of a window, and it will say something like idiomas, languages. You can get some work there generally. Find a place that matches you. Find a place that really, really suits you. All right. Thank you again for the questions. Definitely going to get onto them. Right. Private language schools. So these are the most common way to teach and to get into teaching in Spain. So these are schools that are owned by people who probably a teacher, who've probably been in Spain for a little while. They want to get into being a sort of a business person. They start their own school. They employ 2 or 3, 4 or 5 teachers, depending on the size. They get students in, you work for them, and you teach, basically. Someone makes a little bit of money out of it. It's really, really probably the best way to get into teaching in Spain. It's good if you've not got any experience. It's good if you've not got a degree, for example. These are the sort of schools that you want to be working in and getting into. It's good for entry-level teachers. They often offer you a termly contract. So the terms generally start sort of September to Christmas, then again after Christmas till Easter time, and then from Easter to the summer. And you generally get a contract for a certain number of hours for that term. There are schools that offer you 12-month or 10-month contracts, but generally you get a termly contract. And quite often the schools sort of offer you sort of maybe 10 hours of teaching a week. And then on top of that, you would do overtime, something like that. It really does depend, because these aren't really regulated. as in, you know, not every school has to have the same type of contract. It does depend on the number of students they have and that kind of thing. There's a very wide range of different classes there. So you might be teaching kids one day, teaching business English the next day, teaching exam English another day. Really, really wide variety. And they tend to, especially in the bigger towns, be open 7 days a week and tend to be open all day. So they'll have classes in the morning, sometimes early in the morning before school. Sometimes they have, especially at the weekends, classes during the day, and they have evening classes. Very, very common to do this for people to learn after work, before work, for kids to learn during the day. And if you don't have a termly contract, they are paid by the hour. So they might pay you 15, 20 euros an hour to go work there and teach for that 1 hour. That doesn't include any prep time. That's all on top of it. So generally you earn about 1,200 to 1,500 euros per month doing this. And that out of that, you would have to pay for your rent. You'd have to pay for all of your expenses. It's not really like Asia where you get your rent paid for you, your accommodation paid for you. In Europe, in Europe really, but especially in Spain, it tends to be that you get your wage and everything else comes out of that. Right, so that's private schools that was owned by someone. These are public schools. These are schools that are owned by the local government, basically, or by the national government. And generally, to go work in one of these, you need to have a degree or a qualified teacher status. Now, that's different from a TEFL certificate. I don't have a qualified teacher status, but I have a TEFL certificate. And this is pretty good for people who are wanting to be a teacher in their own country, teaching something like history, geography, mathematics. You can go work in a school like that. But you can also, they do offer TEFL jobs like this. So if you have a degree, but you don't have qualified teacher status, if you have a degree and then you have a TEFL certificate, you can go in there and work and teach English. Now, these are slightly harder to get jobs than going to work in a private language school. What I would recommend for you to do, if this is a sort of thing that you want to, now these are also probably not easier, but they're a way to get into Spain teaching if you're not an EU passport holder. Google these, the MEDIAS program and the North American Language and Culture Assistance Program. That's easy to say. And NALCAP. Google these, see if you're eligible for them. Now, there are certain restrictions to these in terms of age, these programs, and there are certain restrictions in these in terms of nationality. But those are worth having a look at especially if you're from outside the EU. Right. Now, the best paid jobs in Spain are universities and international schools. So university is sort of self-explanatory, really. You go teach at a university, you might be teaching English to English majors. So obviously, remember, people in Spain are trying to, the Spanish people who are studying an English major. You might also be doing things like conversational classes in universities. Now, an international school is like a high school that's not owned generally by the government. So it's like a private high school where where the students and the parents of the students want their kids to learn by a certain curriculum. You go in there and teach English as a foreign language there. Now, because they're better paid, they can demand higher qualifications, especially universities. Less so international schools. A very experienced TEFL teacher can get in an international school, but a university quite often wants quite higher level qualifications. By that, high level qualifications, I'm sort of talking about maybe a degree and then a master's qualification. Right. You generally got to have a good level of Spanish to go and work in these, especially in universities. Why? Because a lot of the meetings are in Spanish. Yes, you might be teaching English, but the meetings, the correspondence and things like that would be in Spanish. So if you want to go work at a university and you've got a degree and then you maybe got a master's level qualification, that you can earn upwards of 2,000 euros per month. And I have seen jobs up around the 5,000 euros per month working for universities. But you can already see that's almost double what you can go work for a language school. The harder to get into these jobs, but if you can get into them, then that. Okay, right. Now, so the other option is international schools. Again, they pay more than private language schools, and you can sort of earn for up to about €1,500 a month there. All right. Cost of living. Thank you for these questions. I can see them all coming off my screen. Probably it's you. I'm going to get those there. Right. Cost of living. So the cost of living in Spain, like a lot of European countries, is very, very varied. Yeah. Big difference between the rural side and the big tourist cities such as Spain, Madrid. The main cities can be very expensive. And I do know for a lot of TEFL teachers, it's quite common to share accommodation in the big cities such as Barcelona and Madrid. Now, people can afford to buy to rent their own flat, but it is a lot of money. And quite often you're renting a little bit far out. If you want to be in the sort of center of Spain, if you want to be in the center of Madrid, it could be a bit dear. And it's quite common to sort of share accommodation, sort of university style, with 3 or 4 people. Yeah. Or if you're a couple going to teach, or you go and teach with a friend, you share it like that. You get your own room, that kind of thing, but you will be sharing a house with someone. Now, smaller cities have cheaper expenses. It's a lot cheaper to live in the non-touristy cities. Now, Spanish cities are all quite touristy. They get a lot of tourists. But if you can not live in Spain in Barcelona or Madrid, then generally your money goes quite a bit further. And many teachers do top up their wage. Very common to top up your wage as an examiner, especially with Cambridge exams. It's also very, very common to top up your wage with private students. Lots of students want to pay for one-on-one classes to get them through a special exam, or to really improve quite quickly one element of their English. Okay. Or you get 2 or 3 friends come together to you and you try and teach 2 or 3 people. That would be on top of your wage working for a language school. Right. So how do you get a visa? It's quite an important thing of how you actually get to work there. If you've got an EU passport, woohoo, happy days. Look at this. Fantastic. Anyone with an EU passport can go and work in Spain. Nothing much more to say about that, but except fantastic. Now, if you are from outside the EU, it's not impossible, but it does get a bit more complicated. A working holiday visa is one of the options. So this is a visa for a certain restricted number of countries, and you tend to get a visa for a year, and that will allow you to work, but that tends to be it. Now, once you're in Spain, you might be able to find a job that will then sponsor your visa and let you stay longer. But that's a good way of getting you into Spain, the working holiday visa. All right. The other option is to go in on a student visa that then allows you to work 20 hours a week. So you go there, you have to sign up for a Spanish course. Generally, it's a Spanish course, but you might sign up to do a degree or something like that. You go there and then you work on the side. Remember, a lot of the classes are in the evening or at the weekend, so you've got time to work, and you teach English in the evening. It's a really, really good way of getting into Spain, and you also learn something. Final option is to get a work visa. Now, these are quite difficult. These are quite rare. Basically, you need to find a school that will sponsor you to be a TEFL teacher there. For private language schools, they're not really, really common because it costs the school quite a bit of money. It can also cost the school a bit of admin time. And if you were to leave, they've lost a lot of time. They've lost a lot of money. So work visas are possible, but it is trickier. So basically, see if you are eligible for student visa or working holiday visa. Basically, that's for outside the EU. People do work as a TEFL teacher on a tourist visa. I personally do not recommend this. I think you're setting yourself up for some sort of trouble there. So be very, very careful if a school says they will let you work if you enter on a tourist visa. Okay. Right. How do you find a job? So obviously, the one that we recommend is TEFL.org. And then we have a job center. And I am just going to show you this now. Okay, so we have this is on our own website, tefl.org. You got the top here, jobs. Click on that. It'll allow you to select by country. I've already selected here I've selected Spain. So you got a job there with some accommodation. A job there. It's at, where is that? That is in the Basque country. Sounds very, very nice. They want multiple teachers, got health and social cover, that kind of thing. All sounds good. There's also other jobs. Now, if you see it says internship, that generally still does pay. What it might be is that you are a teaching assistant, not necessarily a teacher, but it's still worth doing, and there is still a wage there. So I would have a look at those. Okay. The next one that I would recommend that you have a look at is at TEFL.com. So we are TEFL.org, and here we're talking about TEFL.com. So you go on that website, you can select Spain at the side here, and you can see that there's quite a few jobs here teaching in Spain. So they are worth a look at. You can also see that there's a couple of jobs there for a director of studies. That is an option in Spain to sort of go up the career ladder. Right. The other one, which I think is quite good for Spain, is this one, spainwise.net/jobs. They have quite a few different TEFL jobs that are advertised on there. Okay, so those are the ones that I recommend. While I'm here showing you this, I also do recommend that you go on our website, click on the blog page here. That will allow you to search. You can search for Spain, and there's lots more information here, even some more internships type things and places to find jobs in there about Spain. Okay, thank you very much. Right, and then the final way that I would recommend you finding or looking for jobs is to apply directly to schools in Spain. So a lot of schools are quite small. They might only employ, private language schools might only employ like 3 or 4 teachers at the most. They generally can't afford to pay for advertising. They don't want to pay for advertising because it's a bit of an outlay in order to employ someone for quite a small number. So they like to employ people directly locally. So apply directly to the school. So if you want to go work in Zaragoza, for example, go on Google, find a language school in Zaragoza, send them an email, tell them who you are, tell them you want to be there, and see if you can get some work directly through them. Right. What will you teach when you're in Spain? Now, the English exams are very, very popular in Spain, and a lot of one-to-one private students will come to you asking to do this. The 3 most popular ones in Spain are the Cambridge exam, so Cambridge CAE, Cambridge FCE, that kind of thing. The Trinity exams are also very, very popular, and IELTS is also quite popular. So have a look at those. If you can become an expert in teaching exams, or if you've got a good general knowledge about these teaching exams, or if you've done one of our extra add-on modules about teaching exams, it will definitely help you to find work in Spain. Business English is also popular, especially in the big tourist cities, where they're going to be dealing with lots of tourists. Students will like to be able to improve their business English in order to get work, basically. And then, of course, young learners, there's always a market all around the world for young learners. Parents basically sending their kids to these extra classes. Right, what benefits will you get as a teacher working in Spain? So some schools provide accommodation, as I just showed on that advert there. A lot of schools do not. They might help you to find accommodation, but they don't provide it. Have a look at the general wage to see if the wage they're offering is enough to cover the sort of accommodation that you are happy to do. Ask questions about it in the interview if you can. Jobs that include flights are quite rare in Spain. You do see them. The flights tend to be from somewhere within the EU, but it is quite rare. Not impossible, but they are quite rare. Ask about health insurance. Ask, because this can be quite expensive in Spain if you get sick, that kind of thing. So find out exactly what you're going to get with health insurance. I think that's kind of worth it. and this is, I think, is quite an important part of Spain, which is a little bit different from some other places around the world, is that some schools provide teacher training. So they might provide for you to, if you stay with them for a couple of years, to do extra, they will pay for you to do extra modules, teaching English as a foreign language training modules. They might pay for you to do something such as a Delta, which is quite a high level practical qualification. They might pay for all this kind of thing. Also, there's generally a few managerial positions around in Spain, you know, senior teacher, assistant director of studies, director of studies. If you work for a while, if you show that you're a good teacher, if you keep learning, that there are jobs available and that kind of thing. So that makes you a bit more money, can be quite a good way of doing it. Right, thank you very much. Okay, let's get to your questions now. Really appreciate everyone. Please do say if you're in disagree or you agree with me, or if you've got any comments at all about it. Martha, hi, you're a mother and you were wondering if someone has any experience with the kids settling. Your Spanish is pretty good and your daughter goes pick up quickly. Interesting. So first of all, really, I think it does depend a lot on you and your daughter, Martha. I know plenty of TEFL teachers that have taken their children abroad to work. It's very common. I would say that Spain is probably one of the better countries to do that. Why? Because if you're coming from sort of America, the UK, Australia, like an English speaking country, the school system isn't wildly different. Culturally, yes, there are differences, but it's not, you know, completely different from probably an English speaking country. So that's something that's worth thinking about. I don't know if Alan, who's monitoring, I don't know if we've done, if we've got any blog pages about teaching abroad with kids. It is something we've talked about before in some of these webinars, but I don't know if we've actually done a proper webinar. Now, some jobs you'll see out there will pay for kids' schooling. Now, that's if you want your kid to go to a private school. These jobs are a little bit rare, but they do happen around the world. Those are pretty much, you know, common in the Middle East, that kind of thing. So you would need to find out how your kid would enroll into schools and that kind of thing if they're going to go to a local public school. Now, a good language school that gives you a job would help you with that, Martha, and it is worth thinking about. Okay, but I would say Spain is a pretty good place to do that. I would have loved my mum to have taken me off to Spain when I was younger. JP, the $1 million question. Actually, that's not the $1 million question. Right. Oh, I don't know this one. Right. So you tend to, if you've got EU residency, but you don't have an EU passport. I don't know that one. I think if you've got, I don't know if Spain's in the Schengen, and if that's different if you're in the Schengen region. I don't know about that one, JP. But I think probably it's just if you hold an EU passport, but you'd have to work that one out yourself. You've really got me there. Sorry. Monica, is it possible to get a work visa to TEFL in Spain? So for certain countries, yes. For if you can get a student visa, going on a student visa and then work on the side, I think that's definitely something that's doable. Monica, I did put the list of those programs. See if you're eligible for those. Click on those links and go onto our blog page, and there's links to the different programs. See if you're eligible for any of those ones there. Unfortunately, there are certain countries that are allowed, some certain countries that aren't, but it is generally possible. Yeah. David, this is the $1 million question. Do I know what the current visa situation is for UK citizens? It's difficult. Right. Irish ancestry is the best. Everybody wants to have a grandparent from Dublin all of a sudden. Right. If you're already in an EU country, it's more possible. Going from outside the EU into the EU is tricky. You kind of got to get a work visa. I don't think that UK citizens are even allowed to apply for the working holiday visa at the moment. So it is tricky. It's not impossible, but it's more difficult than it was before Brexit, unfortunately. JP. Yep. So we publish a range of different jobs. So, international schools, private schools, universities will advertise. Now, universities tend to advertise more internally. I always say this about universities. If you want to work for a university, the best way to find a university job is to go on the actual university itself website. Now, that is difficult. There's a lot of universities in Spain. Find a city you want to work in, go on Google Maps, type in universities, look at them all, click on them, see if they are advertising. Probably the best one, if not for university jobs, is that Spainwise website that I showed, spainwise.net/jobs. Have a look on that one. But yes, we do sometimes do university jobs now. The most common way to work in Spain is through a private language school, and they are still the most common way of advertising. Okay. David, experience of Spanish students. Yeah, they are different from Asian students. I like them. The ones I've taught. They can be a bit more boisterous. They can be slightly less respectful. However, they can also be really good fun. If you get them on side, then, you'll have lots of fun with them. They tend to be a bit more outgoing. They tend to be a bit more active than Asian students. I personally like that. Every student is different. You can have active Asian students, but I quite like teaching slightly louder students myself. They've got that sort of Latin wild flair as well every now and again that comes out, which, I think is quite interesting myself. If you want quiet, passive students, probably Spain isn't the way forward. Go teach in China, Japan, somewhere like that. But, if you want to get up and have a lot more fun, that kind of thing, probably Spain is the way forward for you, David. Candice, hi. You teach English 1-on-1 to a 6-year-old boy. Suspect he's ADHD. Okay. Wow. Okay. First of all, what I would say to you there is, if he's a 6-year-old boy and he has ADHD, and it's, it is quite common, he's probably struggling in his own language as well. Okay. He's not necessarily struggling in English. 6 is still quite young to be learning, another language not full time, but, 1-on-1 with someone. There's a lot of pressure for a 6-year-old. So first of all, relax, getting him to say the answers and what, if that's finding quite difficult, you've got to have a lot of patience, Candice. All right. It's going to be tricky. Don't force him. Don't get, obviously, I'm not sure you are, but don't, lose your temper. Don't get frustrated. Don't show your frustration. Show your frustration after, because as a 6-year-old, getting to learn anything is going to be tricky for them. Right. Concentrate on vocabulary. Try and find something that he's interested in. So if he's interested in football, teach him football vocabulary. Yes, it might not be the most useful thing in the world, but build up his confidence. Okay. Attention span. If his attention span's bad, then you got to have lots of very, very short activities. Quick word search into a song, into a get up and run around type activity. Into a drawing activity. Get the energy levels going up and down, up and down, up and down. That tends to be how you keep kids going who have a short attention span. But I think, Candice, the most important thing there for you is just to take it very slowly and don't expect too much. Yeah, small little breakthroughs are pretty good. All right, I hope that helps, Candice. That sounds like a really interesting student to have. I'll be honest with you. Kristen, hi. You did the online 120-hour certification, but you heard in Spain it's easy to get a job with classroom hours. Don't know if it's true. Right. So for anyone that doesn't know, the basic TEFL qualification you can do is a 120-hour online one. And you can find work in Spain with this. 100% you can. Right. Saying that, if you've got no experience of teaching TEFL, if you have no experience of different teaching, then if you're applying for a job and you've got your 120-hour TEFL certificate, and somebody else has the 120-hour TEFL certificate, but they have been teaching for a little bit, 6 months or so, or they have some practical experience, who is the school probably going to give the job to? All right. So have a little think about that. They're probably going to give it to the person with the experience. So if you don't have any experience as a teacher, you don't have any experience that's sort of transferable through training in your job or anything like that, then get on, maybe do a practical course on top of that. Or the other option, Kristen, is to do volunteering work wherever you are in the world. Try and find some local people who want to learn English. There will be some wherever you are in the world. See if you can volunteer, see if you can get working for them. That might add on to it. You do not need experience to go work in Spain, but it helps. That's what I would say, Kristen. All right. Hi, Anna Maria. You got your 120-hour certificate from your local public university. You have your degree. Well, where do you want to go is the first answer to you, Anna. Do you want to go work in Asia, South America, Central America? Europe for Americans can be a bit more tricky if they don't have an EU passport. That's what I would say. It can be a little bit more tricky for an American to go and work in the EU. Middle East is open to you. The big East Asia, Southeast Asia is open to you there. Korea, Japan, Central America, the world is pretty much open to you there. Where do you want to go? Have a look at some of the webinars we've done about teaching in different areas. See if any of those take your fancy. See if any of those appeal to you. I started working in Vietnam. It was my favorite place to go work. And I always say to people, if you fancy going to work anywhere, I'd go work in Vietnam. But China's also, there's loads of jobs there available for you as well. If you've got your degree as well. Good luck, Anna Maria. Interesting. Raminda, hi. Would I still be eligible to apply and considered for jobs there if one is a very senior citizen who's very energetic and active? Very senior. I don't know what very senior means. There's no upper age limit, Raminda. If you've got an EU passport, there's no upper age limit to go work in Spain. And quite often around the world, and this is especially true in the Middle East, people think that the older teachers are better than younger teachers. Even if that older teacher doesn't have any experience of teaching, quite often people think that with age comes wisdom. Are they right? Are they wrong? I can't say that one. But I think you would be eligible to go work there for sure if you hit the visa requirements. And you're a nice, friendly, how do you describe it? Energetic and active person. Definitely. Nice one. Claudia, hi. Have you tried using songs with? Oh, yes. Okay, interesting. So that's talking to Candice about the hand puppets and things like that. Really sort of bringing it down to really quite basic kiddie stuff, I think is the way to go forward. I think if you're talking to Candice, I think it was for a while ago with the 6-year-old ADHD student. That's a really good point there, Claudia. Nice one. Emmanuel, hi, you're from Lesotho, Southern Africa. Here we do all our studies in English, but in all English teaching processes are not acknowledged as native English speakers. Right. So this is a whole right now. Quite often, so people from South Africa obviously speak English like native speakers. The problem tends to be is that South Africans aren't often eligible to get the visa in some countries. So, for example, in China, there are only certain countries that are allowed to get a working visa. And currently, South Africa is not on that list, unfortunately. It's a horrible thing, but unfortunately, it's just the way of the world. There's nothing we can do about it. Right. What you need to think about, Emmanuel, is basically applying for places where non-native speakers are eligible, or countries that allow South African people to get visas. Watch my webinar about non-native speakers teaching. Basically, what I always say to people is that you will see jobs advertised and it says native speakers required. All right. And if it then lists the UK, America, Australia, for example, and South Africa isn't limited, it could be because the country there doesn't allow South Africans to work as their working visa. Watch my webinar where I talk about non-native speaking teachers, because basically if you can show that your English is at a high level, and English is your first language here, Emmanuel, so it is, there are places around the world where you can apply and get work. Okay, but unfortunately there are places around the world where you won't be able to get a job unless your country matches the visa requirements of that country. All right, hope that makes sense, Emmanuel. A lovely bit of chat there between Candice and who was it, Claudia, I think, I can't remember who it was, about Claudia, yes, about the young students. Interesting. Pokemon, play Pokemon cards with him. Go for it. Listen, thank you very much for joining us this Wednesday afternoon UK time. I hope that you have enjoyed hearing a bit about Spain. We've done lots of webinars on lots of different topics. So please go on our YouTube channel, especially it's the easiest way, and look at all the ones we've done. Worth looking at those if you fancy going to work a bit more. Yes, Emmanuel, I'll tell you when my geography is wrong. Yes, Lesotho is a country within South Africa. Yes, I totally. But that my thing does. Lesotho definitely does still count. Thank you for pulling me up on that. It's not South Africa. It is another country within South Africa. I do remember that. But yeah, my still thing, go look at the non-native speakers. Listen, thank you, everybody. Got sidetracked there by Emmanuel. Sorry for not getting that right. Please do go back and look at our webinars from the past, see if any of them do match what you want to know more information about. We've also got loads of stuff on our website, TEFL.org. Please do put in the chat if you liked or didn't like this video, and anything you want us to do topics on in the future. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.